Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the UNews Weekly, the weekly audio-video podcast brought to you by the UN Information Office in Tashkent, together with all the UN agencies in the country. I'm Nagina Mirbabayeva and I'll be your host for this week's episode 29. Welcome to the show.
Coming to you in this program, a milestone in budget system reform, a draft budget code of Uzbekistan has been presented. Public procurement enhancement, a workshop on prospects on public procurement has been held by the Budget System Reform in Uzbekistan project. Education and innovation, a new internet portal is implemented in the training center under the Ministry of Finance. And joining our program today is Faizullah Salahuddinov, the project manager of UNDP's Budget System Reform in Uzbekistan project.
The Budget Code of Uzbekistan is a newly drafted legal framework which is coming into force in January 2014. To find out more about the importance and the impact of the document, watch our first story.
The Budget Code of Uzbekistan, which is a legal framework that defines the foundations of a national and state budget and its purpose and functions, was recently presented to the international partner organizations. For the last 10 years, the government of Uzbekistan, in close cooperation with the donor community, has been reforming the national public financial management system, and the draft budget code is one of the milestone results of this successful cooperation. The presented draft budget code was developed under the joint UNDP and Ministry of Finance Budget System Reform in Uzbekistan project, and in close cooperation with government agencies and international partner organizations. Through this joint project, the UNDP has been providing technical assistance at all stages of the budget code preparation since 2010. This includes the inventory of budgetary legislation, development of the concept paper, and the budget code draft itself. The project consultants have worked closely with the staff at the Ministry of Finance and other line ministries to elaborate on the budget code from the scratch. UNDP accompanied the process through organizing workshops, trainings and study visits on performance-based budgeting methodology with participation of international experts. The budget code is expected to come into force in January 2014 in a test mode until late 2015.
Public procurement is a notion not widely known, and in order to increase the understanding and awareness of the subject, a workshop was held by the UNDP on the prospects of public procurement for government employees.
A workshop titled Good International Practices in Public Procurement, Prospects for Application in Uzbekistan was organized by the Treasury of the Ministry of Finance of Uzbekistan, jointly with UNDP project Budget System Reform in Uzbekistan, as well as UNDP and the World Bank representative offices in Uzbekistan. The workshop aimed at reviewing the current situation in the area of public procurement in the country and answering the question on how to enhance the public procurement system based on good international practices. The workshop was attended by more than 40 experts involved in the area from various governmental offices and agencies and focused on a number of key topics related to the effective implementation of procurements, including a review of the current state of the area and objectives of improvement in Uzbekistan, an overview of international good practices, then reforming the procurement practices, in particular the practice used by the United Nations Development Programme and the public procurement practices recommended by the World Bank. A special session of the workshop was devoted to discussing approaches and methods for improving Uzbekistan's system based on the government's priorities and best international experiences.
Distance learning is a concept which makes education much easier, and a new distance learning system has been implemented in the training center of the Ministry of Finance of Uzbekistan. Our next story has all the details.
As part of new distance learning system in the training center under the Ministry of Finance of Uzbekistan, a new internet portal has been developed with the support of the Budget System Reform in Uzbekistan project. The portal contains various types of interactive methods used in distance learning: interactive lectures, flash clips, video and audio materials, online tests, case study problems, presentations, and etc. The newly developed portal provides a unique opportunity to experts from regional departments of the ministry to attend online training activities and other events conducted in the head office via video conference equipment. This enables specialists from the regional departments of the ministry to improve their skills on the spot without coming to Tashkent as it was done before. In addition, last year UNDP project provided assistance in piloting Polycom HDX video conferencing system, which enabled establishing direct high-quality video conferencing with 3 regional offices of the Ministry of Finance in Khorezm, Samarkand and Andijan. For the first time, the full live broadcasting of the training on public procurement was conducted by international experts for regional departments of the Ministry of Finance through video conferencing, where financial experts of Khorezm, Samarkand and Andijan regions were able to ask questions on the issues concerned and to get instant answers from international experts.
The UNDP's budget system reform in Uzbekistan project has been aiding the government in enhancing the budget system. And with us today we have Faizullah Salahidinov, who will tell us in more detail about the work that they do in this area. Hello Faizullah. Our first question for you is, we know that the budget code of Uzbekistan has been drafted recently. Can you tell us why was there a need to develop this budget code?
First of all, Nigina, thank you for invitation to this interview, for this discussion. And during the last 10 years, within the last decade, the government of Uzbekistan has been implementing a reforming of the public financial management system in Uzbekistan. So the need for budget code, first of all, was that it was important to create a legislative basis, which is currently a bit fragmented and consists of a lot of different laws and a lot of regulatory documents, around 50 of them, which sometimes contradict to each other. Sometimes there were some unclear provisions, some misinterpretations. So the main purpose of this budget code was, first of all, to consolidate and to streamline the legislation in this area. Another important thing was to introduce some new, some novelties, some legislative norms, or some new procedures and processes that has been adopted within this reform process. It means introduction of establishment of the treasury system in Uzbekistan. First of all, it is the introduction of new budget classifications based on international standards, introduction of some of new approaches in implementing the budget planning process and budget execution. So that is why this document not only consolidates and streamlines, but also introduces some legislative important novelties, which significantly changed the approaches of the government in planning and implementation of the budget, of the state budget.
And how has the UNDP contributed to this creation of the budget code?
UNDP has been providing assistance to the government in reforming this system, public financial management system, within the last 5-6 years. And our project in particular provided assistance in development of the draft budget code, which included all the process of development of this document, starting from the inventory of the existing legislation, developing the concept paper, and drafting the budget code itself. The project worked in close cooperation with the national partners and developed this document from the scratch. So the UNDP significantly supported the government in this regard.
And what is the status of the budget code now? At what stage is it?
In October this year, the budget code, the draft budget code, which has been developed under the support of our project and under the support of UNDP and other partners, has been approved by the government, and it has been submitted to the parliament. According to the existing procedures, the lower chamber of the parliament has already approved the draft budget code, and currently it is under the approval by the by the Senate, upper chamber of the parliament. But it is expected that by the end of this year, it will be approved by the head of the state, and the budget code will come into force since January the 1st, 2014.
We also came across a concept called program budgeting. Can you tell us what this concept means and if it has been used in Uzbekistan, in what way?
Program budgeting, actually, it is one of the models of the performance-based budgeting. This concept and this methodology is not quite new. It's widely used all over the world in many countries. In Uzbekistan, actually, the UNDP, mostly UNDP, is promoting this methodology and this concept, this idea within the last few years. And in particular, our project also promoted in terms of awareness rising, in terms of learning this methodology, in terms of developing some policy recommendations to the government, has been, a lot of things has been done in this area. And regarding its usage in the budget code, so the new legislation, the budget code introduces some key elements of this methodology in budget planning and budgetary process. So, for example, a few years ago, according to previous legislation, the main budget recipients and those who are funded by the state budget, they only provided some estimates. Along with the application for budget funds, they provided some rough estimates for their future expenditures. But now, according to the new legislation, according to the new budget code, which will be enforced from the next year, they have to provide, along with this application for budget funds, they have to provide some document, some program document for at least for 3 years. Some we call it strategic plans, but some people are calling it development programs. So they should provide some document, on a program-based document, which defines their future plans and future results for financing and for developing the certain areas. More specifically, strategic plans or development programs which will be provided by the budget recipients to the government, along with their applications for funding, it will include concrete results. These documents will be result-oriented. They will be on a program-based, and they will be result-oriented, which they will include certain indicators. So it improves the budget planning process and brings it on a more higher qualitative level. So the budget funds will be not just disbursed, but they will be oriented to a concrete results, with the concrete indicators and with the concrete tasks.
Budgeting is something that probably every person comes across with. How do you think this newly adopted budget code will affect us ordinary people? If it does affect us, in what way will it affect us?
First of all, I have to mention that around or more than 60% of the budget goes to the social sector. I mean, the taxpayers' money, yes, this is public funds, goes to mostly returns to the social sector, including to the education, to public health, and to social security. And of course, for the ordinary people, it is crucial and important to know how effectively and how efficiently and effectively these scarce public resources are being used, and how they. And of course, the budget code, first of all, provides clear provisions, and it also ensures that. Actually supposed to ensure that these funds, public funds, will be efficiently used. They will be result-oriented, and of course the new budget code is supposed to make this process transparent, and of course it should ensure the accountability of the budget code. But so for the ordinary people, of course, it is important to know how the taxpayers' money is being spent, for what purposes it is being spent. So, hopefully, after the adoption of the budget code, the information on the state budget implementation and its execution will be accessible. And the reports on budget implementation will be accessible after the approval by the parliament and relevant government offices. Then it would be publicly accessible.
Thank you very much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's it for this week's episode. If you liked our episode, don't hesitate to share your thoughts or comments and visit our website at www.un.uz or our Facebook page at facebook.com/unique Tashkent. We'll see you next week.